Class, this is Mr. Diaz. We're doing the final section of chapter 5 that we're supposed to do, section 5.3, trinomials. This is part 1. I have to apologize for the delay on this. My original videos actually got deformatted, so I'm going to have to do them again. So this is the second version of the original videos. So let's go ahead and get started. This particular section deals with trinomials. Unlike the previous two examples, these could be told right away what type you're dealing with, because we have 3 terms right there. And another way you can figure these out is that sometimes they don't have an initial GCF. Now that's not always going to happen, but you'll get them right away just by taking a look at them. And there are 3 types of trinomials. Today we're only doing the basics. Section 5.4 and 5.5 cover the other 2 types of trinomials, but those are optional for our course. If we have time, I'll go ahead and make videos for those 2 as well. But for right now, that's all we need, up to section 5.3. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Like I initially said, there is no common GCF. So for example, here you have a 1, a 6, and an 8. So there's nothing that they share in common. The same thing goes with a variable. Unlike our previous examples, we could either factor out a variable, a coefficient, or a combination of those 2. So we're kind of stuck here. So the way you're going to factor these out is by first breaking apart the first term. And what essentially happens is that this breaks into a binomial. So once again, you're going to have to refer back to chapter 4, the last 2 sections, 4.4 and 4.5. Essentially, it's the opposite of those 2 sections right there. So how did we get x squared from multiplying? Well, we had to multiply x times x. All right, so that's easy. Now we're going to do the same thing, but at the back end. In this case, our last term right there. So we did this at the very beginning of the semester. If you want to use your multiplication table for this one, you're more than welcome to, but it's not that hard. Remember the different ways of getting an 8. You always start with 1. So you got 1 times 8. You got 2 times 4. 3 doesn't go. 4 times 2 is a repeat of this one. So you figured out all the factors of 8. Now what you're going to do here is you're going to question, if I were to add or subtract any of these pairs, which one will give me that middle one? In other words, which of these 2 pairs is going to give you that 6? Well, if we add 1 and 8, that gives you a 9. If you subtract them, that gives you a 7. So obviously, this is not going to be the pair that you're going to choose. So you go on to the next one. In this case, the 2 and the 4. Well, if we add 2 and 4, it does give us 6. So for right now, we could say that 2 and 4 are going to be the factors of 8 that give you that 6. So that's the first thing that you got to do. As far as this, the very first one, first term is going to be very simple. Now, when it comes to the signs, you got to take a look. Take a look at your sign here. It's a positive. So how'd you get a positive? And you got to remember your rules. Well, we're going to use the positive chart. And we briefly covered this at the very beginning of the semester when we were dealing with the signs. How do you get a positive answer? Either both are positive or both are negative. So how do you know which pair to choose? Well, it's very simple. All you have to do is take a look at the sign for that middle term. It'll let you know. If this sign is positive, you choose the positive pair. If that sign would have been negative, you would have chosen the negative pair. Since it's positive, we're going to choose the positive pair. So you have a positive 2 here, and you have a positive 4 there. Now how do we check it? Well, we could check it by using the technique, the FOIL technique, with essentially what we did in the last 2 sections of chapter 4. But that would take us a little bit too long. So I'm going to show you a quick way of doing this without going through the actual multiplication itself. First, we want to check this x squared. So if you multiply x and x, that does give you what? X squared. Then we got to verify that we get the middle term. Well, if you add positive 6, positive 2 plus positive 4, it does give you positive 6. So if you collect those two, it does give you that. So for right now, it checks out. Now you got to take a look at the last term. Do positive 2 times positive 4 give you positive 8? And the answer is yes. So that's the way you're going to treat these. Now remember, there are different patterns to this, so you got to be careful on the signs. So once again, you start off with the first one, break it apart. You then move on to the last term, break it apart, show all the factors, and then go ahead and choose the sign. So let's go ahead and take a look at another one. So in this particular example here, once again, it's a little bit different. So we start off first with the first term, in this case the x squared. How do we get the x squared? Well, once again, we multiplied x times x. Now we move on to the last term, the 9. So we're looking for the factor or the pair, no, the factor of 9 that gives you that 10, that middle term. So once again, start off with the first factor, 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. Those two pairs give you that 9. Now if you were to add or subtract, which one would give you the 10? Well, obviously it'll be that first one. So you know right away which one to choose. So you have 1 and you have 9. Once again, we need to discuss which chart you're going to use. So you take a look at the last term. So you're going to use the positive chart. So the positive chart here, once again, means that both of them are positive or both of them are negative. In this particular case, since your middle term is negative, you're going to choose the negative pair. So this will be -1 and this will be -9. Once again, take a look at it. Check it. X times x, x squared. If you collect -1 minus 9, it does give you -10. And -1 times -9 does give you +9. So once again, this would be your answer for this. So in this particular example, these two previous examples, we dealt with the positive chart. So in our next part, we're going to be dealing with the negative chart. Notice the differences in the signs right there. So see you in a little bit.